Hello everyone, welcome to the Guidance Corner. My name is Christelle. This week's discussion is going to be about assuming, how our assumptions create situations or impact situations and how they shape our relationships. So what do I mean by assumptions, assuming? Assuming is guesswork. Assuming is believing that we know something about a situation or about a person. When we assume, we put words in other people's mouths. We give other people reactions. We give situations impacts that haven't happened yet. When we assume, we take our beliefs and our past experiences and we base the interaction that we're having now, we base the situation that is in front of us or the person that is in front of us, and we assume there'll be this outcome or there'll be this feedback. I just need to go back a little bit just to explain. Assuming can happen when we're in a conversation with somebody, but it can also happen when we know we want to have a conversation with somebody. So we might have a meeting and we start to speculate, what's the meeting going to be about? If they say this, I'll say this. So we almost script, we try to plan, how is this going to go? When we look at a situation, we will try to have a script. How is this not helpful? And the reason this is so unhelpful is, which script are you going to write? There can be thousands of variants to that script. So which one will you choose? Now, even just talking about this now, I can feel well, which one would you choose? And your brain will give you so many different scenarios. So up goes the anxiety in us because we're speculating on a future happening. And like I said earlier, if this is, because we can do this when we're going to have a conversation or when we are facing a situation that is not in front of us yet, it's not in the now, but it's in the future. But we can also, we speculate as we're talking to people. We speculate and assume when we're in situations. And that also is not helpful, because in order to make assumptions, in order to start speculating, in order to be able to assume what somebody is going to say or what has to happen, you're thinking in the moment. So let's say this is a conversation with somebody. You're listening, but you're not active listening because you're hearing, but your brain is not listening. It's not taking everything in. It is to a certain extent because you're hearing what the person is saying, But when we're assuming, we're already actively searching for our replies, scripting our replies. So we're not active listening. We already know we're not in the moment because we're projecting to what we're going to say, to what might happen. And our minds are clever. Our minds know that there are an infinite amount of possibilities that we can assume, that we can make up. So that quickens our thought process, and we will start to jump from one scenario to another. Again, building sorry, building anxiety within us, because we have to be quick. When we are in a conversation and we have started to assume how this is going to go, or how the other person is going to react or act or respond, we're quick. We've got to be quick. We're in the moment. When we're not in the moment, the speed that is required to reply instantly is not there. But what happens is the possibilities quadruple. We have the time to tap into, well, this could go so many different ways. So let's look at this way and let's look at that way. And because we have that unconscious knowing that there are infinite possibilities, our mind again will start to ping on all these different possibilities. Well, if they say this, I'll say that. Or if this happens, I'll do that. But then if that happens, I'll do this. And suddenly there's chaos. When we assume, we tap into the make-believe. We tap into all the possible unknowns, all the variants. And as I'm saying that, I'm actually thinking, well, we don't tap into all of them because we can't possibly know all of them. But we will tap into the ones that tie in to our past experiences, our past traumas, things that happened to us in the past that we have a knowing of because we have an experience of it. The last time I dated, this happened. That is my experience. If I start assuming what's going to happen on this date, I'm going to go back to what I know. The last time I worked in this industry, I had this experience. When I'm making assumptions about this job role that I'm going for, this interview, I'm going to base my assumptions on what I already know. With what I've just been saying, how does that sit with you? Can you see the world of trouble we're going to get ourselves into when we assume? So I'm going to give you a little story now. This happened about 4 or 5 years ago. I decided I was going to pack everything up and move to the Netherlands. Now, this is a bucket list dream. I was excited and afraid out of my mind. Now, I assumed that people would be so excited for me. I assumed that when I had these conversations with my family and with my friends and the people around me, I assumed that they would be, this is amazing. This is, oh, wow, I wish I could do that. You're so lucky. This is how I saw these conversations playing out. So whenever I played this out in my head, that is what I would assume. So as I was like, I'd talk about this and I'd talk about that. And I would be just this amazing person doing this amazing thing. And I really was on cloud nine. And so I had these assumptions, these scenarios that I would play out, and I would talk, and then my mind, like, I would assume how people would react. And so I had these multiple conversations with people. I had played out these multiple scenes of what it was all going to be about. And the first people I told was my family. And I think it was Christmas time. Don't quote me on that. And I said it with all my enthusiasm and my joy and my, look what I'm doing. And the room went quiet. And I waited. And my brain was like, what the hell's going on? And they were like, oh, wow. Oh. And the reaction couldn't have been more different than what I imagined. Chalk and cheese, actually. And I was stunned. Now, if I hadn't have bought into these assumptions, I would have been more easygoing in the situation. I wouldn't have had all these assumptions. I wouldn't have had this script that I'd played out in my head. So I still would have been taken back, but not as much as if I had just said to myself, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if they'll be happy for me. I don't know if they'll be afraid. I don't know if they'll be sad. I don't know. So then when we admit to ourselves that we cannot possibly know, whatever comes can still be a surprise, but not as much of a surprise as when we have scripted something out and we believe that's how it's going to go. So in this situation, I got defensive. They didn't give me the reaction I was expecting. So I got defensive. So what happens when we get defensive? And generally when things don't happen the way we're expecting, our script falls away, our belief gets knocked, and we're left a little bit, there's a word, but it doesn't come to mind. We're left a little bit like the carpet's been ripped out from under our feet. And so we get a little bit like, oh, hang on a minute. I wasn't expecting that. And we try, because we have that script that's been playing out, we try to grab the situation and drag it back to where our script works. So we might go into being defensive. We might go into that hyper state of but, and look at it like this, look at it like that. And there's chaos. There's chaos within us, and that chaos comes out, which then creates chaos in the situation. So for me, in this situation, my past experiences about friends doing big travels or moving to a complete different location or changing their lives in some big impactful ways, I met those situations with enthusiasm and wow, they are so lucky and look at what they're doing. And with so much, I wish I was them. I wish I could do that. So when the tables were turned and it was my turn, I assumed people would react the same way. And it took me years to understand that people sometimes need time. I realized that I literally dropped this bomb on my family and I expected them to be all crazy and super excited. I didn't allow any processing time for them. I didn't allow them to think about it or to see how they felt, how I didn't see that they might be sad even, which seems astonishing to me now, but I didn't stop to think that they might be sad that I was moving so far away. I made no allowances. I was not compassionate or understanding. And it's not that I'm not a compassionate person. It's not that I don't want to understand people. It's not that I don't want to make allowances for people. It's just that I had assumed, and as I walked down that path, when that didn't happen, I was surprised. I was taken back. I was shocked. And because I expected one reaction and I didn't get that, I assumed they're not happy for me. They don't see what a big thing this is doing. They don't see how brave I'm being. They're not validating my choice. So how do we notice? Because we do this so subconsciously, so unconsciously is a better way of saying it actually. We do this unconsciously most of the time. How do we realize, how do we come to raise this up and make it conscious? And like with everything, it's awareness. So if you are listening to this now, the next time you fall into the assuming, the script writing, the thinking you know how this is going to go, or I've covered all my bases, so I'm not going to be surprised. After hearing this discussion, you'll probably be like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm asking myself all these questions that I cannot possibly answer. I have multiple reactions ready for whatever happens. I have multiple options of how this could play out. And if it plays out like this, that, or the other, I'll be ready for it because I've prepared for that. I have my script. When we assume something, it's happening in our heads. Okay, we are having discussions with people in our heads. And if a person happens to be standing in front of you and you're starting to assume as they're talking, it's still happening in your head, but much, much quicker. Might be a little bit harder to catch because it is so, so quick. But you will notice you're having these discussions in your head. If the person isn't in front of you, you'll be answering for them. You will make a statement or ask a question and you will answer that, how you think that person is going to react. Now, our answers are going to be very much in the black and white. We understand that there's a gray zone, there's everything in between. But when we talk, we're going to say, oh, well, if they're not happy about that, they'll answer like this. And then I can answer like that. And so we're going to bring it into the black and white. We're going to bring it into a primary color. We're not going to dilute it because then we have every shade and we can't possibly write a script for every shade. So we're going to pick these scenarios based on our past experiences, and that's where we start, especially when somebody is standing in front of us. We don't have time to speculate in the gray. So our past experiences will be at the forefront and will be the biggest catalyst of how we respond or react to how somebody is in front of us. We are listening. Actually, I'm going to say that differently. We are hearing that person, but we are not listening. So we are hearing what they are saying. We're filtering it through our past experiences, and we are going to reply or respond or react based on that. And then we wonder why there are so many miscommunications. There are so many misunderstandings. Because in that space, we'll reply, and the person in front of us might go, where did that come from? I don't even know what, like, and it's not because you responded, you replied to what they said. It's you've taken it, filtered it through your past experiences, good experience, bad experience, all our triggers, and that's how it's come out. And I want to make mention here of how unfair that is. So I'll go back to when I was telling my family that I was moving to the other side of the world, basically. We're in Australia, and I'm back in Australia now as well. But I was so unfair to them. Yet I felt that they were being so unfeeling and so unfair to me. So there's hurt that comes out of that. There's hurt feelings, and none of it was intended. But because we have these assumptions, we have these make-believe scenarios that we feel that's how it's going to go. And then when it doesn't, we think, what's wrong with people? What happened? And then we go into search and we try to find why, which again is another assumption, isn't it? So how do we break this cycle? Like I said earlier, it's awareness, understanding that we're doing this. And it's knowing as well, being so honest with ourselves that we can say to ourselves, I know I'm speculating. I know that I'm assuming. And I think if we can be honest that way and tell ourselves that I don't know how this is going to go, I'm going to speculate on a few scenarios, but I know it can be very different. I know I cannot think of every scenario. So where do we do this that is helpful? Why do we assume, make believe, prepare ourselves? And it's helpful in a job interview, when we apply for things. Okay, we might go and apply for a rental property. We don't 100% know what they're going to ask for, but we make sure that we've got certain replies in place. We might bring a reference with us. If we go to a job interview, we'll take our resume. There are just certain things based on past interviews, in the past when we've applied for things, that we might just try and prepare ourselves in a certain way. Again, we know we are preparing ourselves. It's done consciously. When we go into assuming, we're still preparing ourselves, but it's unconscious. We're not allowing ourselves to fully embrace and understand that we do not know. I believe that assuming is less harmful when it's done that way. When we assume, when we speculate in a way that is planning, we know we are planning. I'm going to sit here with my notebook and I'm going to plan this out. When somebody's making a movie, they need a script. They need to have a plan. And we often hear with movies, oh, that sentence just came out. It was unscripted and it was gold. So they still, even with a script for a movie, they still allow that flexibility, that flow for those golden moments. So we need to do the same in our everyday life so we can plan for something. It increases our confidence. It maybe reassures us a little bit, but we know that we are planning. When we are unconsciously assuming, that increases anxiety. It doesn't build confidence. It does the opposite. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel almost like we're going to go into a battle, or makes us feel very maybe narrow even in the way, especially in my case. I was very narrow-minded about how it was going to go. I went down one path of speculation, of assuming, and I didn't even broaden that. I didn't even look at other scenarios. Unfortunately, I did afterwards. So when it came to telling work, when it came to telling others, even every time I spoke about it to my family, I was then on the defensive. They were going to say bad things. They were going to try and talk me out of it. It was not going to go well. And so every time I approached somebody, I approached them with the vocabulary, with the whole energy of somebody that was defending their choice, whether I needed to or not. And when that then amplified the situation, because when we come to something in defensive, so in my case, I felt like I needed to defend my choice. I needed to show people, well, this is not a spur of the moment. I've been thinking about this. I've been planning this. Their reaction then became more fear-based, because then here I was talking about this amazing thing that I was going to do, that I did, and I was defending it. And I was saying, well, look at this and look at that, and this is why I'm doing it, and I know what I'm doing. And that made people even more nervous, because then it sounded like I was trying to talk myself into it. And I actually had a beautiful soul, a beautiful friend that actually said to me, Christelle, are you trying to, are you trying to sell what you want to do to me or to yourself? Something along those lines. And I remember thinking, no, I'm in. I'm trying to make you in, I'm trying to make you understand. So it was a mess. And it was a mess that I created for everyone, that then in my unconscious development of it, I actually made it worse. So this became a massive scenario that played out, that continued to play out in that very chaotic way, or because of an assumption. So to close off this discussion, when we can catch ourselves assuming, not when it's that we're in planning mode, we're sitting here with our pen and paper and we're jotting down and we're looking at things, not the conscious planning, but the unconscious assuming, we're actually taking away our freedom and the freedom of others to react and be how they are, how they feel about it. Because remember, they're assuming as well, more often than not. And we're increasing the chaos in our life. We're often taking away joy, or we're not allowing people to respond in the way that feels most real to them. So we're actually not being real and true, and we're not allowing others to be real and true. Assuming also takes away that element of surprise, that element of, oh, I never realized that. I never saw that coming, or and allowing that to envelop us. Assuming makes us believe we know when we can't possibly know. It makes us, like I said earlier with my story, I was not compassionate or understanding. So it makes us less compassionate, less understanding. It doesn't help with relationships or situations. It doesn't help with our coping mechanisms. If I had not speculated in that very narrow way with my family's reaction, I might have just said something like, how are you feeling? What are you all thinking? But because I had assumed that I knew, I then hit a wall and I got angry and immediately went, well, I was expecting them to be happy. Not that they weren't happy, but I was expecting them to be this excited happy. And when I didn't get that, it was like, oh, they don't care. They don't see this as such a great opportunity. And it hurt me. And then obviously my reaction when they were feeling sad and like, oh no, she's going. My reaction then hurt them. And they were already hurting by what I was telling them. So there's this compounded kind of energy that we're not compassionate with, because we almost can't be in that moment because we're not understanding. So as always, I will do a worksheet on this. There'll be a meditation to help us catch when we're assuming. There'll be the blog. I'll have this video and the meditation video on Spotify as well, if you prefer to listen when you're driving maybe, or things like that. And I'd love you to just take away with you, in this very moment, what assumptions do you have on the people around you, on situations around you, on what's been said, that you can't possibly know? And how realizing that, how could that transform those situations, transform those relationships in your life? So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.